everyone, this is a Greyshot17, and literally a couple days before I release a video saying, what do I want for Cooperative Heroes 3, Relic's like, we're going to release a survey for what do you guys want for Cooperative Heroes 3? Me thinking that they're already in development and they wouldn't take people's feedback because, again, Cooperative Heroes 2 released in 2013, they had a 5-year plan. I remember them through development commentary, stuff like that for Cooperative Heroes 2, and they've been updating it actually pretty frequently. Throughout the years, and maybe not so much this year, but they have been doing a pretty respectable job, and the numbers prove it. It's still one of the top games played on Steam. You can say Greyshot's not number one. Yes, I know, it doesn't beat PUBG. It's still on the Steam charts, I think in the top, at least between 50 and 75 for most played games. You can say Greyshot, that's pretty bad. I mean, there's like 75 games that beat it. Yes, but also realize that there have been thousands of games released on Steam this year, and that will show you, like, okay, this game for some reason is sticking with people and enough that it's above all the thousands of games that are underneath of it for playtime and people using it. So anyway, I'm going to go through this and kind of use this as a area to explain what I think for COH3. Again, if you want to take the survey, go ahead and take the survey and put in what you want. But this is what I think, and I'm more than happy to share my thoughts with both you as a viewer, and also if somehow other people see this or the Relic team sees this. Hi, Relic. I'm the guy that does videos. Although I do not swear as much as that other guy, but I'm not as British as that other guy. I'm the American guy that sort of has a cat that pops up. That guy. And also an identical twin. That one. So, describe yourself. Well, for Relic, hate to break it to you, I did not like Cooperative Heroes 1. Not because it was a bad game. No. Because I was an idiot and I couldn't understand the controls and everything. So, yeah, I was an idiot. And also my PC sucked. Moving on. Eventually, when Cooperative Heroes 2 came out, I actually had a decent rig. So I was able to play that. I've tried to go back to Cooperative Heroes 1. I'm just not a big deal. So personally, I'm going to say I'm a Cooperative Heroes 2 fan. Now let's hit next. What keywords immediately come to mind when you think of Cooperative Heroes game? Cooperative Heroes 2 multiplayer has always been very key, and I think that is what's been keeping the community alive and refreshed. They have released single-player content. I really do enjoy that, but their constant updates and the constant tweaking they do to multiplayer is the main thing. I think that people enjoy watching Cooperative Heroes 2 and also sharing it with their friends. So having a replay system that is very good, so that way, of course, people can send videos to each other or links and other things of like, hey, did you check out this game? And they can go check it out themselves. I think that is something that is imperative. And that's why Halo Wars 2, I think, was, again, an issue they had. Halo Wars 2 just released a spectator mode. And I think that since Cooperative Heroes 3 literally had that from the beginning, that's an edge up on it. And also a reason why that is done so well, among other things. The third key word that comes to mind when I think of Cooperative Heroes, I would also say would be interesting setting. Now, the reason I say this is very simple. The setting / I'll put campaign into this as well, is they've always done stuff where, yeah, first at Cooperative Heroes 1, they're going to do D-Day. Okay, fine, awesome. Well, anyway, Cooperative Heroes 2 did the Soviet front. And now, honestly, in a lot of games, you don't see a campaign with the Soviets. That's something, at least at the time, was a little bit more interesting. You're starting to see a little bit more now. And, of course, you have other games that deal with this the Soviet front. I think of, like, the Sturmovik Ace Flying series or Red Orchestra and stuff like that. But you have seen a little bit of a shift where, yes, it's both. You can see the American side. I mean, World War II Call of Duty games coming out, and that's the American front again. Oh, wow. And then now you have, again, other games with the Soviets. But if I were to recommend where that campaign be next, personally, China. That doesn't mean the whole game has to be in China, but I think that if they're going to do a new setting, having that would be so cool because it would be an area you couldn't see. Now, how likely is it you recommend Cooperative Heroes series to a friend or colleague? Now, this is simple. I'm going to say a 10 just because I'm a crazy nut, so I'm just going to put 10 on that. And also, it is a really good game series. Now, which of the following motivated you to buy Cooperative Heroes games? Multiplayer gameplay, absolutely. I would say single player campaigns, because Ardene's Assault was another campaign they released, and Company of Heroes original really had a bunch of cool campaigns that they released. But Ardene's Assault was a really cool, interesting gameplay dynamic where you fought multiple engagements, you had a set amount of troops, and eventually you got to the end game and you could lose. I like that aspect. Focused tactical gameplay, I like. That's really cool. Now, I do like the destructible battlefields, absolutely. I will absolutely say them having destructible battlefields is something that's very key. Now, what's about this? Asymmetrical factions. Yes, having a completely unique faction, everything else is very, very good. Territorial-based resource model. Personally, I'm fine with either. I like that, but I also would like them to innovate multiplayer. They could still have the default mode, but I feel like I've played that enough. Once again, I'm a crazy nut that's put probably 1,000 hours. I have 2,000, but 1,000 not recording wise. For replays, 1,000 hours into this where I've been playing that same mode. It's a very good mode that has a lot of interesting dynamics, but I feel like if they could tweak it or do something unique for Company of Heroes 3, that would be something that would be cool. And again, motivating for buying. Locations chosen as battlefronts. Yes, I would say that me seeing a Soviet front had me excited, because I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's something that I've not played. I've always played on the American front, the Call of Duty games, stuff like that, but I haven't really seen the Soviet front. Cinematic presentation, I would also say, is up there. Squad-based combat, I would say, yes, that's something very good. Other things, again, because I'm a crazy nut, I'm going to say the replay system. So I'm just going to put that in. Let's hit next, shall we? Would you purchase a new Company of Heroes game? Definitely. Why? Once again, you know the answer. How often do you use mods for Company of Heroes games? Now, this is something that Steam Workshop became available, and I do think it did help Company of Heroes, because I can download a mod that allows for a customizable anime chick to be my faceplate. That's something I like. So, how often do you use mods? I would say often. I don't play a lot of different, like, what are some of the mods online? Like, there's a couple of the ones that deal with the changes, like the gameplay. I'm trying to think of it. There's also a Axis campaign and stuff like that. I don't typically place those. I just like more cosmetic mods and stuff like that. Although sometimes I'll go into an AI bash and just like send infinite guys, infinite everything, send them at me. So having mod supported workshop, I think, for Company of Heroes 3 is key and essential, because they did it for XCOM 2 and they also did it for, I know this is for Axis, but having that for XCOM 2 when it released was insane of how popular it became. The Long War literally was like a second huge expansion for XCOM before the War of the Chosen, and then after all the mini DLCs that add up to like a tiny expansion. It was like their big second renaissance for that game, and that really helped them. So I think if Company of Heroes is smart, they'll allow Steam Workshop support, because that will allow creators to be like, hey, I can make something, and I can make something for a lot of people. I do think restrictions in Company of Heroes 2 kind of did dissuade people from making more. So I don't like it when people have a lot of restrictions. But that being said, of course, you want to make sure people aren't aimbotting or something like that. So a King Tiger doesn't one-shot a unit across the map always every time it fires. That makes sense. That honestly, but that's like using cheat detection and stuff like that for multiplayer games. For me, if you're playing in a multiplayer or a single player experience, I think allowing a mod to where you can add a campaign or add different cosmetics or add new units would be kind of really cool. So that's my thing. Now, let's see. How important are the following single player campaign features do you want for Company of Heroes? By the way, this is something to where I kind of, I have not gone, I'm going through step by step. So in case you're wondering. So we have, let's see, cinematic moments, linear scripted. And again, actually, stronger story elements, but always plays the same. For those who don't know, this is like a Call of Duty main campaign series, where a dynamic non-linear game would be, again, like Ardene's Assault, where it's you have set missions, or XCOM might be a better example, where you have missions you partake, and there's certain core missions that'll pop up, but when a person plays their third mission, it's different from your third mission. That's what they're kind of doing. Sandbox, objective based, but you can play how you want. And then character driven. Follow characters and their stories through the campaign. Now, This is honestly what I want. I want a cinema. I think cinematic moments are very important. I think the linear scripted missions are awesome. I think those were a very cool dynamic that you can have. Now, you're saying, oh, Greyshot. Well, if you're saying you want to be in the China region, well, how does that work if you're going by a timeline? Simple. You still have it with the Civil War, and you can still have it to where you have the PRC, you have the nationalists, and then you have the Japanese. But you're playing it and you're fighting these battles between them, or again, technically you're allied, so you can be fighting the PRC. Japan comes in, you make an alliance with the PRC, you fight off Japan, and then you go back to your war, and that way you can have a different ending possibly and stuff like that. That would be cool, and that way it doesn't necessarily have to line up with history, and that's why I kind of like Ardennes Assault. So, I would say linear script is average, and of course the dynamic nonlinear is very big. Yes, I did just mess it up. So anyway, now sandbox style missions. Objective based, but can play how you want. Now, I like having multiple different ways, but we are dealing with an RTS here, so I think that is still very important to have multiple ways. But that being said, I also think a character-driven story would be cool. And you can have it to where, again, you just sprinkle in those more linear stories or linear missions, but again, how you deal with them and the characters that survive through it could change. Like, if you have a campaign mission where your commander dies, but there's a chance in another guy's campaign he could live to the end, that's cool. And I think that would be something that would be interesting. But again, then you wouldn't get the character-driven story, and then they would have to adapt for that. That's a lot more work someone has to do, but something that I feel like would be very cool. And that's what I think for these, honestly. So anyway, let's hit next. What art styles do you like? So, that's interesting. So it's going. This one's a lot more grounded, or it's kind of just. They're both in this. I know this map. This is Arrowbrook Station. This one is kind of. I don't know. I think it's another 2v2 map. I'm not getting an idea or sense of what this map is. But which art styles do you like? Oh, I'm sorry. Is this Company? No, it looks like Company of Heroes. Is this Company of Heroes 1 and this is Company of Heroes 2? I'm going to have to say I like Company of Heroes 2 style more. But I could see maybe what they're going through here. This is weird. This is, I think this is Company of Heroes 1. I could be off on this. But no, it looks like Company of Heroes 2. I'm actually very curious about this one. This is weird. Nope, there's definitely Company of Heroes 1. I think that is Company of Heroes 1, judging by the style. I'm going to have to say 2. I really like the style of 2. So if they can just keep going with that, that would be great. Please rank the top 3 new features if there was Company of Heroes 3. New feature 1. Alright, so let's see what Relic thinks that they want to add. Morale mechanics. Okay, so if you constantly be losing, then you could be having some issues. More cooperative modes. Customizable key bindings. Deck building. Oh, fuck no. Dynamic nonlinear campaign. Streaming/casting features. Anti-toxicity features reporting. Fictional/non-historical units, advanced tutorials, advanced in-game chat options. Okay, so I'm going to go through these one by one. Moral mechanics, I think, would be a cool idea. Again, and I could see this for Japan or China. Again, China was kind of in a bad spot for a lot of the war, but they still fought, and they were in situations where they're completely surrounded, but they never gave up hope, and they're actually able to win. They did what the Germans couldn't do at Stalingrad. They broke free from a very, very long, pretty much siege of a giant section of China completely surrounded by Japanese forces and won. So yes, I think morale mechanics would be a cool one. Let's move on. Cooperative modes. Now, they do have cooperative modes now, but I feel like no one, at least in my opinion, no one really talks about them and no one really cares for them, and nor have they really updated them since really the first year. I remember they released Case Blue, but after that and some of the Southern Fronts and stuff like that, people played them, but they weren't that active. So what do I think? What do I think cooperative modes would be interesting? Yes, and yeah, they could add in horde modes and stuff like that. Is it something that I would say is a necessary feature? No. Customizable key bindings. Okay, this is just me, and I know people are going to be like, Greyshot, yes, I want to customize my keyboard. I don't care. Like, again, some people will say yes, some people no. For me, I just get used to whatever I'm given. If it's bad, then I just move on. Which, again, is bad for a developer hearing that. It's like, oh, no, I need to make sure it's good. But anyway, for me, I just try to get used to the setting. So that's mine. Deck building multiplayer mode. Fuck no. Do not add Hearthstone into this game. Now, I could see where I could easily see. But Greyshot, you can get a loot box, and in the loot box is a card pack, and in that card pack you get 5 cards, where you could get and deploy a King Tiger, but most likely you're gonna get a Panzer III, and that's all you're gonna get. It's like, ugh. I mean, I don't think that would be a good idea, because again, that messes with multiplayer. I could see what they're trying to do, but I'm very curious how they would do this, because I don't think. That's me. I don't like a lot of microtransactions. I think Company Heroes 2 microtransaction system now is fine. I think it's refined. And again, you don't have to pay a dime unless you really want to just buy it now and you don't want to just play the normal game. For me, I'm very, very like toward deck building. If they use it correctly and they make sure it's fine, that's great. I have no problem with it. But if they make it super grindy, that will dissuade people very quickly. Right now, you're seeing that with, and again, I'm not trying to dissuade them. And I know they're a company and they want to make money. But right now, I'm looking at Battlefront 2 and Shadow of War, Middle Earth Shadow of War. Both games just came out, and both games are receiving a ton of flack for including those microtransaction systems. Forza 7 has a system, and they're currently being flacked for it. If you do something that is not cosmetic, people will freak the fuck out. I don't mind the commanders, because again, it's just like, well, here's the base stuff, you can add in a little more. That's okay in my mind. But if you start doing a deck building system where you start adding in like all these different units where you can't get a Panzer IV unless you get this card deck, then I'm like, oh, you're going to start dissuading a lot of people. So I'm going to say a hard no to that one. Though, again, I could be proven very wrong. And as I stated, I'm a lunatic. So, again, they can, as a developer, they can do what they want. If they feel that that's better, that's fine. But I'm just putting my stance. Dynamic nonlinear campaign, yes. I'm just pointing it down because, again, I think that campaign in Ardennes Assault was better than the Soviet campaign they did. That's my opinion. And I think that they did something in China setting with you playing as either Japan, the PRC, or Nationalists. I feel like that would be awesome. Now, streaming casting features. I think it would be a cool addition, but I wouldn't say as a new feature it would be like, yes, I want that. Because, again, I use OBS and I use Shadowplay. Like, I don't mind you having it, but there's also Mixer and all these other streaming services that you can use. You can even use like Twitch for itself. They have a new app that you can just use itself to stream. So while I think casting and stuff like that would be awesome, and I think that's once again a really good step for an RTS to make sure they have those features in there, it's not a new feature that I need. Anti-toxicity features. Reporting. Yes, I like this because, again, this helps with people who are constantly swearing, or you get some of the lunatics that truly believe that they want, like, oh, I won as the Axis. Well, it would have been better if the Axis would have won, and they're being 100% dead serious. I'm like, oh my god, he's a loon. But anyway, I think that would be a good feature. Fictional non-historical units. Okay, so it's 2 ways I see this. To either they're going Cold War, and they're just like, we're going to throw in a bunch of stuff, which is kind of interesting, or they go into hypothetical, where they include like the mouse. Or if you're in Japan, you're adding in the experimental heavy tanks and stuff like that they did have, they just never deployed. That stuff I'm fine with, but I'm like, okay, if you're going to be making non-historical units, then you're not being historical. And I already said, like, you can have a different ending. That's fine, but they're still set in the same universe. This would be like alternate universe. And what? Are you going to have Company of Heroes Wolfenstein? To be fair, I would play that game. I would absolutely play that game. But again, it would definitely be something where I'm like, okay, we're going to have to check this out. Though if they did Company of Heroes Wolfenstein, I will say this, I would definitely play it because, again, you could try to win as America and you could be a complete OP badass as the overpowered Germans in that game. Again, look up on the history of that, get the new Wolfenstein series if you want more. Advanced tutorials. I think this is something that would seriously help, and I will put this in. In-game chat options, I use Discord stuff, I don't care. Why use advanced tutorials? When I find when people are playing RTS, they don't know how to play it. They're like, Greyshot, I don't know how to play this, so yeah, I'm no good. And I'm like, well, damn it. And if I keep adding in, like, I keep doing how-to videos, and they're the most viewed. So there's a huge audience that are trying to understand your game that are looking on YouTube because they're like, well, your tutorial system's not good. If you have a good tutorial system, that they'll stick with your game and they won't have to look on YouTube, which it's like, oh, Greyshot, are they pulling away your views? Like, no, that way I can play with more people. If people can learn how to be better at this game and to like the game, and that's learn to like, I understand. Let me phrase it better. If they can learn to understand the mechanics of the game, then they'll be more intrigued and more likely to stay than a game that they're getting frustrated on that they don't know how to play. So those, I'm looking at everything, would probably be the three. Though for runners up or honorable mentions, I would have to say the anti-toxicity feature is a huge one, and customizable keyboard. Those would be my other two. Anyway, how desirable are the following campaign features to you? If there was to be a new Company of Heroes game, playing the campaign with any available faction. Holy God. Okay, so what does that mean? Alright, so I'm assuming that, again, if you do China, you do a 3-way in there, that could be cool. That could be very cool. And again, you can have it to where, again, you don't focus. If you're playing the PRC, you focus on China, then you focus on Japan, then you focus on China, or Japan, you just focus on China, and you focus on both. So, historical accuracy, I'm neutral. Because, again, it's like, okay, if you're going to be something a little bit different, that's fine. Playing the campaign with any available faction. I think that is a cool idea, having a dynamic campaign. That would have increased replayability because you could play with multiple factions and get used to them. Also would help with tutorial because if you could play the campaign through multiple factions, and that way you're not just good with the Soviets. You could also be good with the Wehrmacht and etc. The Company of Heroes 2. If this Company of Heroes 3, you can play with all three factions. Again, I want China. I want that setting. I understand that some people want Italy. That's fine. But if you want to be unique and set up a Cold War scenario with how that sets up for Company of Heroes Cold War, then Company of Heroes 3 Send China is my thing. So like campaign replayability, I think would be desirable. Rewriting history, I would say is desirable. A story-driven and dynamic campaign, I would say, is also up there. Historical accuracy, I'm neutral with. I don't care. Now, out of all of these, I would say playing with the campaign with any faction is the top desirable. Rewriting history is just alternate history, and I think that can be cool. And again, having an ending where the Japanese conquer China, interesting. Again, if you could do it. Replayability, great. Story-driven campaign. Having interesting characters is something that I would like. And dynamic to where you could have shifting events, also very cool. You can do a story-driven dynamic campaign, I think, because they did that with Ardene's Assault. You had it to where you could beat the campaign and only have one army group alive. I mean, the airborne could die, the armor could die, the infantry could die. So that, I feel like, is already a story-driven campaign where you're getting more information from the guys. But then you also have a campaign where, yeah, they died. So, yes, that's how I put it. Okay, so this is what I wrote. Essentially, it explains my setting about China and goes into why I picked these. A better tutorial, increased replayability, interesting characters. That way, of course, if you play as, let's say, China as the nationalists, you understand why they're fighting. Also understand the hardships of what they went through, and also understand why they were also terrible people. Each faction doesn't have to be, oh, I'm the best faction. No, you can show the dark side of the PRC, the nationalists, and the Japanese about what they did. Each side did some pretty bad stuff. I mean, again, you think of the PRC starving people, the Japanese, unfortunately, the rape of Nanking, or the nationalists just being a harsh dictatorship. It's a democratic, but it's still a dictatorship. However you want to put it, you do that so you can show each of the different factions and pretty much what they fought for, even though how flawed it was. And again, depending on how you win, you could say, oh, Japan is conquered by it conquers China, or you could have it that the nationalists escape to Taiwan, or they don't, depending on the faction. Could be both historical and alternate, depending on the outcome. There you go. I feel like that kind of sums everything up. How desirable would it be for a new mode be played to create a custom army with a... See, this is where I think the microtransaction system... Wait, hold on. How desirable would a new mode be where you can create a custom army with a possible mix of allied and Axis units that you can take in the battle? Man, and how do you get those units? Would it be a card deck that has microtransaction systems that maybe, just maybe, you pay $5... Okay, I'll be reasonable. $3, $2.99. You get a pack, and in the pack you can get one valuable unit, and then like 2 additional like normal ones, and then also you could get vetted units too, and all this other stuff. Yeah, remember how you remove a lot of vetted deployable units from Company of Heroes 2 because you realize that's unbalanced. Okay, so let's remove the fact that maybe you don't put in vetted units, so it's just the baseline unit. So maybe you have a heavy tank, so you could throw in a King Tiger, Shermans, and we'll say a light T-70 for your game. I'm gonna say undesirable for this because once again I already see this. Okay, how about this? I'll be neutral. This could be awesome, but I'm gonna be neutral because I read between the lines. I'm like, this is the new microtransaction system like Blitz mode in Halo Wars 2, isn't it? And the person looks at you while reading this like, maybe. All right. Can you tell us why you feel neutral about this mode? Alright, so anyway, I put, feels like a way to incorporate a microtransaction system to buy card packs to unlock units to make a deck. This could be fine, but also could be a grind to unlock and possibly overpowering heavy spenders, causing a pay-to-win aspect of the game. That is why I am neutral, as I hope this is not the case and is balanced accordingly. Yeah, man, does that definitely feel like a microtransaction system. Again, hope. Top 3 theaters. Put China. Pacific Theater, Japan, Hong Kong, Philippines. Wait, what? Wait. Oh, I like this. Okay. World War I. Okay, so let's go through. So please rank your top 3 theaters of the war listed if there is a new Company of Heroes game. So let's put them in. So these are most likely what they're going to do. Modern War. Hell no. Why? Because very simple. What? America is going to fight Russia. Oh, great. We haven't played those games before. I can think of World of Conflict. So, Modern Warfare does not interest me. I like World War II. Let's keep it in World War II. So, Mediterranean Theater. Oh, sorry, World War I. Let's get to World War I. World War I, I think, would be a cool aspect, but I'm going to put that in Theater 3. Why? Very simple. Battlefield 1 shows, and also the Great War Channel, all these other aspects show that the Great War is very popular right now. Oh, Wonder Woman shows that the Great War is very popular right now and is ingrained with a lot of people. So I think that would be a good aspect. However, if you're going for a tactics game as in World War II, or like that Company of Heroes has done, I feel like it's more of a grind. It wouldn't be as fast paced. It could be strategic, which would be cool, but it would be very difficult to move armor units around. Also, I know people are like, oh, Greyshot, but I mean, the Germans had tanks and the Allies had tanks. What's the problem? Yeah, the Germans had 13 of those suckers that you're thinking of right now, and I know which one you're thinking of, the ATV, or I think it's called, or something. The ATXV or something? Anyway, it was the 22-man crew tanks that they would have. Okay, well, how many did the Mark V's that possibly that the Allies had? Hundreds. So, well, both sides had light tanks, sure. I mean, neither side is. I mean, you could clearly see the advantageous position that the Allies would be in. So they couldn't necessarily be historically accurate, and if you're gonna be at that point, well, just do something different. So actually, I'm gonna go alternative history. The more I think about it, with Wolfenstein, I think Wolfenstein. The fact that they're even mentioning Wolfenstein or Iron Harvest has my idea. If I know it's Bethesda and Sega, but look, if you could team up with Bethesda and get a Wolfenstein-type Company of Heroes 2 game, that would fly off the shelves. Here's why. You had an interesting campaign where maybe it's set during the World War II against the Germans, and you could play, and again, you're going to lose, whatever, but still you can have an interesting campaign where you're still fighting against the new machines. Also, it could help explore that time period better. That would be cool. It probably may be a better expansion or maybe a side game than Company of Heroes 3, but that's what I would put. Now, actually, fuck that. I would put that over there. Now, what do I put as number 1? You guys all know. Japan, Hong Kong, Philippines. Why? Because again, I feel like that would be a better game. I feel like if you put that in China, it's a different area. You could play as the Chinese faction, the PRC, and that you could fight across China, or at least in major battles that did occur. You could also include the American or Allied forces pushing in through the Philippines, etc. That would be pretty cool. That's my number 1. Number 2 would be alternate history. Number 3, a sharp 3, would be the Mediterranean. Now, why would that be actually, I'm actually going to put World War One. Now, yeah, I'm going to put World War One. Now, again, why would I say that? Why would I prefer World War One, where I just explained the bad parts about that compared to Mediterranean? And also, keep focusing on Western Front? No. I do not want to go back to the Western or Eastern Front. What, add in the Polish faction? No. Add in the French faction? No. Why? Because they both were literally knocked out of the war before they really had a large army. You could make an army, but think about it. In that time period, the Germans were using Panzer IIIs, right? Like, that was their main force. I mean, light Panzer IV chassis, not with the heavier gun, because when they invaded Russia, they didn't even have that. So let's think about that for a second. So how are those units at that time, even the Polish or French best, going to hold up the Tigers? Not well. You could add in some historically inaccurate units or some prototype French units, but that's my issue with Italy. If you added in the Italians, then yeah, sure, you could have a Tiger tank, maybe, but most likely what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of lighter vehicles. And I keep hearing this from my friend who's a Saltschläger. They keep saying, oh, I want the bigger heavy stuff. That's why I can't be in the Chinese-Japanese area. They didn't use mechanized units. Well, what do you think is going to happen in Italy? And in Germany, you're just going to be fighting with light and medium mechanized units. There isn't going to be the King Tiger or the Jag Panther or anything along those lines, because it isn't 1944-45. So you're going to be fighting in 42 and 43, and maybe you'll see a Tiger, but you won't see anything else. So I would say, I'll go back. I think about it. I'll go here just because playing in Italy in a World War II game could be interesting. Playing in Africa could be interesting, and I feel like it's something that people would like. A World War I based Company of Heroes game, though, is something that I don't know. It's iffy between the two, but I would actually, if I'm going to be honest, I'm thinking of like tactics, I'd probably pick this, because I'd probably pick the light mechanized stuff of World War I, but that's just me. So this is why I would pick. So again, Pacific Theater, you already know why. Alternate history, I think would be cool, especially with a freaking Wolfenstein type game or a Kaiserreich kind of game. Again, think about that one. That would be kind of interesting. Mediterranean Theater would be the last one, and again, that's just because I think the Italians would make an interesting army. The French, remnant forces would be interesting, stuff like that. So let's hit next. Very simple. Again, the Pacific Theater and alternate history is something that you don't see, honestly. And if you teamed up with Wolfenstein, which Wolfenstein 2 is coming out literally in a week and a half, that would be awesome. And it's again something that isn't available. It's very hard for me to think of a RTS game like Company of Heroes 2 that's set in the Pacific Theater in China or is set in an alternate universe. So yeah, that's what I would prefer. And yes, Hearts of Iron has mods, stuff like that, but I'm being honest. Like, that would be really cool. And I think even like Men of War has done some expansions, but I think it's mostly, and I think they did Vietnam. But I don't think they were set themselves in China. So that more like alternate history. So that would be cool. All right, please rank the top 3 armies. Okay, so what armies would I like to see? Oh, by the way, they're probably thinking I'm some crazy, not crazy. Oh, I'm definitely crazy. They're probably thinking I am probably a Chinese player by the amount of times. But no, I'm just being honest. I would want to see that faction. So, wow. Please rank the top 3 armies from the list below. Okay, so what armies do they have? The Germans, the Americans, the French, the British, the Italians, the Japanese, the Australians, the Canadians, the Soviets, the Belgium, Netherlands, the Polish, the Nordics. Okay, Jesus Christ. China is even on top of the list, so this is bad. Okay, none available. So that's my first army. Not available. China. Again, I think that would be cool, and you added the PRC in their own army. What else I think the Japanese would be an awesome army. I would also say the Australians would be a great army. Why? Because Sean is awesome, and the amount of stories he tells me about Australian soldiers is astounding. So I want to go with Australia. Okay, then probably honorable mention would be the Italians. I think an Italian army would be really, really cool. But that being said, I can't have China and Italy. So that I'm being honest. And I also haven't really seen a game that really focused on the Australians. The Canadians, yes, because of the fact that the Canadians were in D-Day, and I have seen games where you play as Canadian soldiers. That's interesting. But the Australians is something I have not seen. Polish, once again, out quickly. The Nordics, I find, because, okay, what, you're going to be playing as the Finns? I think you're kind of getting the Finns. I hope I'm getting that right. Okay, the Finns would be cool, but once again, would Company of Heroes 3 just be about minor powers? Because that would be weird. You could play as the Nords, the Italians. Maybe you could play as the French, and I'm trying to think of the Hungarians, the Yugoslavians, the Greeks, maybe, but that's a lot of factions for a couple small wars that really didn't. The Italians would be the biggest one of the group, but yeah. All right, so my answer. Can you tell us why you selected the armies? Very simple. Again, you don't see it. I never see the Chinese army, the PRC, the Australians. The Japanese, okay, you can definitely say, but from that perspective, no. You see more of the Japanese Navy, not the Army. So that would be something why I recommend it, why I picked those, because it's just something you don't see, and it would be a cool story to tell. So anyway, let's move on. How many armies would you expect at the launch? I'm just gonna put 5. I'm gonna put 5. Okay, there's 4. Okay. 2? Hell no. Okay, no. Do not start off Company of Heroes 3 with 2 armies. What? At the bare minimum, what would that be? In any faction, so what, the Italians and the Americans? Or the Again, you just literally had the Nords and the Soviets. So, no. So 3? Okay, maybe then you add the Italians, Germans, and Americans, if you're doing the Italian. Or the PRC, the Americans, and I'm sorry, China, Japan, and the Americans, maybe, but no, I want 5. Yeah, I'm going above and beyond. You want no? Actually, I'll do a minimum of 4. You do 4. So that way you get the PRC, China, Japan, and the Allied forces, which can be under an Australian banner. There you go, Sean. I personally want 5, but I will settle with 4. How many multiplayer maps would you expect at the launch? Okay, personally, I like the number 10. Why? Because if you have 10 good maps, I feel like that was good. No. Okay, I'll go 12. This is an RTS game, not a first-person shooter. The reason a shooter, again, you're looking at a different perspective. There's a lot more area you can look at. For a strategy game, you probably want a lot, because I'm thinking of a 4v4 map, and you kind of add it up. That would be what, 4v4 maps, maybe 5. So yeah, having 12, and then what, 3v3, you add in okay, maybe settling 3 to 4, probably, again, just an average of each mode, and you have 4 modes, probably 3 to 4 maps each. So yeah, that makes sense. 12. I think 12 would be bare minimum. I would say 12. Please rank the top 3 existing features that need to be improved. Okay, so there we go. And by the way, I would like 12 good maps or great, then 15 okay. I don't mind if you minus a map if you make the other maps better. I'm thinking of, I can only play Steps, City 17, and oh boy, what were some of the originals? Those type of maps so many times. But anyway, unit pathfinding. Jesus Christ, I wonder why it's the number 1 on there. Vehicular tank combat, terrain building destruction, tactical map, base defense and building, unit veterancy system, modding tools, online events and seasonal activities, observation mode replay options, custom game options, building garrisons, customizable aesthetic skins, weather atmospheric systems. Okay, What do I think it needs to be improved? So let's think about this. Unit pathfinding, that is the biggest issue I hear about, the biggest issue that a lot of people tell me about. So I'm going to say yes before even looking at another one. Because again, it is an issue with tanks. Vehicular and tank combat, I feel like it's fine. I can't really see a system. Like, I'm trying to think of how it would be made. Again, this is why I'm not a developer, because I'm a lot more single-minded. And those guys are a lot better with design. But anyway, terrain building and destruction, I think it would be cool if you added some different changes. But once again, I think that would be awesome. Tactical map, I think the map's fine. Like, a map's a map. I don't look at that. I look at the main screen and occasionally will glance. Unit veterancy system, I think it's fine. I think the veterancy system could be balanced. Again, I keep saying the Sturm Tiger. It gets 25 or 30 kills and it doesn't get the Vet 1. But goddamn, that mortar emplacement of the British gets 3 kills. It's going up to Vet 3. Modding tools. I'm not a modder, so personally it's not a big thing. I know a lot of people really like it. The base and defense building, again, fine with. Online events and seasonal activities, I'm okay with. I'm not a big tournaments guy, so that's just me. Observation mode and replay options. Though having online events is, again, if you're having for online capabilities, increasing the player base, stuff like that, I think is a good idea to have. Observer mode, I'm going to add on because, of course, well, hi, that's my side job. Custom game options. I think that would be cool, but I think also making sure that building garrison, that's interesting. I wonder what they mean by that. Like, what, you can build your own defensive capabilities or build your own? Yeah, that's curious. Customizable aesthetics with skins, I feel like that's cool, but it's something like I like a skin, but I feel like if out of all these, I would like more. So at least, hey, you're putting more stuff in here. We're like, oh, that's a cool idea, building garrison. I didn't think about that. Weather atmospheric systems. Here's the thing. Personally, I would like it, but judging by how people reacted to the Blizzard system and how quickly that was, and also the Mud system, and how quickly that was removed off base multiplayer, I don't think Relic. I think Relic put that in here as a curious what if scenario. I don't think they put it in here as a, you know what? We're really going to double down on the Blizzard system. We're going to add in, for Company of Heroes 3, set in the Pacific, a Typhoon system. I would love that. I think that would be a cool dynamic. But that being said, I feel like it's something where most likely they're not going to do it. Because, again, they want a balanced system. And I feel like more RNG elements could be issue. Same thing with, like, a Sandstorm. I feel like it would be a cool idea. I would like it, but people would react not violently, on the message board. I feel like people would react negatively and critique the system if they were going to add a weather system similar to the Blizzard. So I don't think realistically that's a possibility. I would love it if that's a cool. I love ideas where they change the system. A reason why I like PUBG, it's always like the different settings and times and locations and weather. That's cool. But again, I'm just thinking of how the Blizzard system reacted and like how much can they really honestly change and still get that same response. So unit pathfinding, I think, is a big one. Terrain and building destruction. You know what? I'm gonna be a wild ball. I'm gonna say weather and atmospheric systems. I like the weather. I honestly do. And observer mode and stuff I like. Honorable mentions. Terrain building destruction. I would like to see like part of a building coming down would be cool, kind of like Battlefield. Modding tools. I'm not a big modder, but I think that's a smart idea to have a modding implementation system. Custom game options, not really a big thing. The base building and building garrison, it's just, that's something where I'm like, I don't know. That's not me. I like the OKW system and how you can, like, it's more mobile and more like pretty much a user can put it down. It's not just in a base. I think that's a better idea, but again, I'm not a game designer, so I don't know. And I don't want to make a decision that could possibly, without an idea, ruin the game. Or because again, they're taking my feedback, and I kind of want to at least have a base idea where you can listen to and be like, okay, I understand where he's going for, and I'm like, I want a base building system. Well, why do you want that, son? I have no idea, but make it happen. No, that's unrealistic. All right, so again, I put replay modes are important because hello. Blizzard system is, I would like to, and unit pathfinding is the biggest critique I hear. Again, the tank just suddenly just stopping and going forward, it just is like it got hit by something even though it nothing. Stuff like that, I feel like that would improve it. So I'm just going next on that. What is the likelihood that you would purchase the following content if there was to be a new Company of Heroes game? All right, I can't wait to see this. All right, new armies. Definitely will purchase. Again, you got a new army. I like it. The only army that I possibly regret getting, and honestly I just don't care for, is the Americans. And I'm American. The Americans in the game is something that I personally do not like. Other people really enjoy it. I like that. It's like, that's fantastic. I like the replays people send of me. But if I'm looking at this honestly, oh boy, the Soviets. The Soviet OKW, British, and the OKW, the Wehrmacht, the Soviet, and the British factions all have a unique, charming quality to them that I enjoy. They all have a unique play style, and they all just are really, really different. And that each style is something I can attribute to and I can enjoy. The American one is the only one I do not. So that's me. New game modes. I definitely will. New game mode. It depends on the game mode. Because for me, I would say new game modes are something like, I feel like this is something that you should just be a free update. Kind of like what Overwatch does. Just a free update for the game. Sure, that means if you want to make money elsewhere through cosmetics, there we go. Probably will purchase. New units. This is something that bugs me. What do you mean by new units? Probably not. Because, again, well, I'll put might. Cosmetic higher, and commanders, intel boltons. Yes, I like commanders, and I'll try them out. I also think the free day system they use, where you could try commander, was something really cool. The only question I have with new units is, if the commander isn't the new unit, then what do you mean? If I buy a Panzer IV, do I now have a Panzer IV and the other Wehrmacht player doesn't have a Panzer IV? Is that what's going on right now? Because I could see a big issue where it's like, oh yeah, the cash cow bought the Vet 3 King Tiger. What does the American have to counter it? Well, he has to recruit Jackson. Yeah, he's probably not going to win. That's something where I could see being an issue if you honestly put it into the game. But I'm a Company of Heroes 2 fan, so I probably will buy it. I'm being completely honest. But I have to look at it as a critique, and I also have to look at it for the average Joe. I mean, like, well, probably a new game mode? Probably not. Well, new army? Yes. Intel? Yes. Cosmetics? Probably. New units? Might. But again, it's just like, what are you talking about? Oh, good. Are we... What other... Oh, my God. I love this. And thanks for making... Wow, okay. So I've pretty much hit the end. Okay. Or I think, maybe. Tell us more about you. Well, you can check out Greyshot Productions if you want to know more about me, but I'll answer this survey. What other games are you currently playing? I just literally played Stellaris 2 hours ago. I play competitive Overwatch. Okay, the fact that they both have Overwatch and Battlegrounds in here reminds me, yeah, they're really looking at the loot box system. So I'll put that down. Civilization 5, I like. XCOM 2, I enjoy. Sudden Strike 4, it's funny. They asked me for a code for it, the developer, or at least some company said, hey, we'll send you a free code. I'm like, sure. They never sent it to me. So I never played it, and from what people tell me, it's okay. It's not great. Destiny 2? No. The single player is generic, and I don't think that the grindiness of Destiny 2 is something I do not like. So, or Destiny 1 as well. StarCraft 2, I've not played it. I've not played StarCraft. Well, no, okay, I've not played it recently. I have played it, but it's just not a game that, was very big. I'm going to add Hearts of Iron 4, so that way they can also take a look. And I think for other games that would be good to look at, I think a game that would be good would be Total War, Warhammer 2. And again, I'll put parentheses, free factions if if you own COH2 ? There we go. That way they would look at that and be like, oh, maybe that's a good idea. That's what I like about Total Warhammer 2. If you play the original one, you get those factions in the new game plus the new factions. I think that would be a smart move. That way you could play, if you want, as the American and throw in a German faction. There you go. Company of Heroes 3 now with 5 factions. There you go. Possibly 6 if you want more. That's my idea, would be they incorporate already used factions, maybe slightly tweak them. That way it's a little less work. I know that's a lot more balancing, but hey, it would work. So let's just keep on going, shall we? Which of the following cooperative games have you played? Oh boy. Oh boy, I've played Portal 2. Don't Starve Together, never played it. Diablo 3, never played it. Left 4 Dead, I have played. Overcooked, I heard it's amazing, but I have not played it yet. Borderlands and Destiny series. Yeah, nope. Have you played? I've played Destiny Cooperative and I played Borderlands Cooperative. So I will put there. I have played those. So if people say, oh, I don't know, he doesn't like Destiny, I guess we shouldn't. Yes, I've played Destiny. I've played. Alright, so what do I like? Drop in and drop out multiplayer, you can join back. That would be something great for Company of Heroes 2. If you get dropped out or lag out, if you can just join back in, it would just maybe be a second to reload it or sync it. I think people would really enjoy that feature for Company of Heroes. Just saying, how many times have you been kicked because of a bug spot or something? You're like, guys, I can quickly get back on and join up. Don't worry, I can join. That would be nice. And then and again, each person has a key role. Dislike, only local. Again, if I want to play with multiplayer, I kind of like the idea of cooperatively playing online. I know that's something that they will probably, but I still want to make sure. And then also just like, oh, well, if you're going to be a partner, you both can be this. And it's like, well, why don't you give me something where it's like I control the infantry, but he has tanks, or something like that, where it's like he controls something, I control something, we're each specialized. That would be cool. Anyway, let's... Oh my god. Okay, for this question, we'd like to understand what you prefer in the games you play. When answering, think specifically about games that you seek out to buy and play, and rate how much each of the following statements apply to you. Oh boy. I see games where micro roles are deep and complex. Strongly agree. Again, I deal with Hearts of Iron, stuff like that. I can say. I see games that have fantastical settings or plots. I would say that applies to me. Have an interesting setting, you got my attention. I just played Tacoma and it had a very interesting setting and a plot. So again, I would definitely say that about me. I see games where I compete with others. I would say that applies. I play Battlegrounds and I like to compete to be number one. Or Overwatch, where I try to up my competitive rank. Also having a better competitive system where it's not just based on playtime but actually rank. There you go. I see games where I can play with or against others. Strongly applies with me. I see games that focus on building and creating. Applies with me. Again, not sure. I'm trying to think of like how would that apply, but building and creating, sure. I see games that I can enjoy without practicing skills. Nope. Does not really apply to me. I like practicing. I see games where progression rewards are more immediate. I would say somewhat. I wouldn't say that's a negative, but I would say progression rewards applies to me. I would say I like where you know that you're on the right path. It could be far out, but there's smaller goals you can hit and larger goals you can hit. I like that. I see games where I play alone. I'd say that applies to me. I play Tacoma. That's a single player game. I see games where I cooperate with others. I would definitely say that plays me. I play, again, competitive Overwatch and stuff like that. Or my COH2 games with friends that may or may not be crazy. I see games where I must work to progress and achieve my goals. That definitely applies to me. I see games that are intense. I say that applies to me. I play XCOM, and that literally will crucify you over and over. Realistic settings or plots, I would say applies to me. I wouldn't say that necessarily is something that is necessary, but it applies. I see games that focus on exploration and discovery. I would say that applies. And it strongly applies. I say I like games that are more linear, but it's weird. I like linear focused stories, but I like multi-approach objective games and gameplay mechanics, if that makes sense. So for me, like Red Dead Redemption kind of works because of the fact that it's a linear story, but it's an open world and open objective game. Or something like Sniper Elite, where you have a certain mission, but you have multiple ways to deal with it. I think Sniper Elite's a better idea. At least recent I can think of. I see games where the mechanic / rules behind blend seamlessly with the settings and context. Abso-freaking-lutely. I love that aspect, because Lunaria Dissidence is something that it doesn't necessarily, it's weird. Actually, no, I'll put applies, because Company of Heroes 2, yeah, you can blitz a tank back or auto repair, sure, why not? I see games that allow me to master my skills. Abso-freaking-lutely. I see games that are peaceful. That applies to me. I don't have to kill anybody. I like Portal, even though technically you kill robots, but whatever. How often do you replay the campaign with games? I'm gonna be honest. Now that I'm an adult and I'm adulting, I actually have not as much time. So I will not honestly replay games that have single players that do not interest me. There are very few single players I will replay. Halo's a good one. I will replay Alan Wake because I love that game. I've replayed the Gears of War games. But that's, you have to have an interesting setup. The Hearts of Iron and XCOM series I have replayed. So I would say, how often do you replay campaign games? Now compare that to active competitive multiplayer. I would say occasionally / sometimes. Because right now in my current setup, that is. But if you go to me earlier, when I'm a younger kid, when I'm in my teenage years, I would easily say always or often. I would way more play the Halo campaign with my friends, stuff like that. Now, it could be the fact that was my only game or one of my few games I had that I play with friends. But that being said, I also had like Call of Duty and stuff, like World at War that I would try to play. And then I also would have games that, like, oh boy, that would be random stuff. I'm trying to think of, anyway, let's get back to this. How often do you replay the game? So I would say right now, occasionally to sometimes. Have you ever played games that have optional cooperative / online missions with their single player? Yes. Okay, I could see this being awesome, where you can make like your own military base, like a theater of war mode, or some guy just drops into the campaign. Like, I'm gonna be the Japanese guy, have fun, try to do this objective now. That would be awesome if someone could play as the enemy. That would be really cool in an RTS game. I agree. Do you like the mix of multiplayer experience in a single-player campaign? Very much indeed. Watch Dogs, I think, is weird because it's just like a very small section of that game. Metal Gear, it's more interesting because, again, they drop into a base and you kind of bring up. If they do something to where it's like okay, this is the only system I could see the card packs working. If I get a King Tiger, and that King Tiger, if I lose it for real. Company of Heroes 3 would be good because one of my favorite games of all time is Tom Clancy's End War. Why? Because veterancy. You had a King Tiger, you could lose that King Tiger. That I like, or like you had a command vehicle. You had a 5-star command vehicle. You could lose that command vehicle if you killed it. I would love that. I would love that so much. Dark Souls, again, people just kind of there, kind of not. Bloodborne. So I would say yes. I'm actually very curious. So for me, it adds tension and replayability. If selected, would you be okay if we contacted you with the following questions? Well, yes, absolutely. If you have a question for me, I will be more than happy to answer up for future questions. Though I will say this, as a developer, you know more than a lot of people on how to make games. I make commentaries and I give my own opinion. And I try to be as fact-based in that opinion as possible when defending my opinion, because, you know, spouting random stuff without random facts is it's useless. It's nonsense. Having something to back up what you're saying is crucial if you're going to make a good, statement. If you want to ask me a follow-up question on this video or on my selection, then guess, Relic, I will abso-freaking-lutely respond to you. So, yeah. All right. Info required for your reward. Oh, I get a reward for this? This is awesome. All right, so I guess that's it. Please enter your Steam 64-bit ID. All right, so I think I completed the survey. I want to say I completed the survey. At least that's what this chameleon is telling me. All right. Well, in any case, guys, I think that's going to be it for Company of Heroes 3. And at least this gives you a better idea about my opinion. And also, hopefully, you guys get the email as well to put in your opinion. Again, you don't have to follow everything I said, but that's what I personally think there should be in Company of Heroes 3. And I actually covered a lot more detail than my own video, but it's probably going to be extremely long. I'll probably do a lot of editing. But in any capacity, that's what I think. And I highly recommend you do the email. So that way, of course, Relic knows what you want, so Company of Heroes 3 can be a little closer to your idea. But in any case, guys, that's what I think. In any case, it's been Greyshot117, and I want to thank my Patreon supporters before I go, like A, Sean, Tim, Carter, Leo, and Nick. Thank you guys so much for your awesome support, and thank you, Relic, for making Company of Heroes in the first place, from, again, being pretty much the main reason my channel has grown so much over the past few years. So thank you so much. In any case, this has been Greyshot117 once again. I'll see you all next time.